Hello, I'm Dr. Barry Weinberg, and welcome to Thrive Alive. What if all disease was caused by one thing, and you had strategies to counter that one thing, guaranteeing that you had optimal health for the rest of your life? Well, there is, and there are, and that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm 55 years old. I'm in perfect health. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm on no medication, and I'm doing great. I have my mom to thank for that. My mom, back in the early 70s, became what they called a health nut and got into health. Got all the crap out of the house, junk food, and we started, it took me to a chiropractor, and we started living a healthy lifestyle. By the way, my parents are still alive. They're 85 years old, and they're both doing great. They're both very healthy, very alive. So let's start with defining what health and disease are and clear up some of the misconceptions that are out there. Let's start with health. What is health? Well, some would say it's when I feel good. Well, not always, because if I'm walking and I step on a nail, I want that to hurt so I know I stepped on a nail, otherwise I could lose my foot. Or if I put my hand on a hot stove.
Quick, pull that hand away and get it to the sink.
Or maybe my low back is hurting and I need to get some help. Pain is there like an engine light in the car. It's not a problem. It's the solution. It's a guide. It's telling you that something needs to change. If those things happened and I didn't have pain, now I would be unhealthy. Some other people might say that health is not having any symptoms of any kind. Again, I got to disagree. Because did you know that symptoms are not caused by illness? Symptoms are not caused by disease. Symptoms are the intelligent response of the body to heal the disease. I'll give you an example. Let's look at the common flu. The flu virus hates high temperatures. It doesn't like the heat. So the body raises the body's temperature in order to kill off the viruses. And now the body has to get rid of the viruses and all the toxins they produced. There's only so many exits out of the body. You got the mouth, you got the pores of the skin, you got the nose, maybe the ears, you got your butt. So you may start sweating, you may throw up, you got a runny nose, and you may have diarrhea. The body's getting rid of the virus. Now, if you take medication to stop those symptoms, you're going to get sick for a long time. And what they found is if you just rest and drink water and support what your body's doing, you could be over a flu in a matter of days, sometimes even in a matter of hours. Is health the absence of disease? Because that's how many people define it. Health is the absence of disease. Again, not true. In fact, I'm going to read you a quote from the World Health Organization, how they define health. Optimum physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I totally agree with that. Because very often having an illness is the body healing, believe it or not. But they did create a new definition back in 2011 that the National Institute of Health, World Health Organization, and the CDC all agreed upon, and I agree with this more. In fact, the two of them together is the perfect definition of health. But this new definition is this, and this is what we're going to talk about today. Health is the ability to adapt and self-manage in the face of social, physical, and emotional challenges. 100%. Your ability to adapt to the challenges in your life is health. In fact, in biology, the survival of a species, the success of a species is how well it's able to adapt to stresses of the environment. Now you combine those two, the ability to adapt and to self-manage in the face of challenge, leading to optimal physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So can we agree that's what health is? Good, let's move forward. Let's talk about what is disease. Well, it's the opposite of what we just talked about. Not having health. Health is not the absence of disease. Disease is the absence of health. Optimal physical, mental, and social well-being. And not having the ability to adapt to the stresses of our environment. Not being able to adapt and self-manage in the face of challenge. Not having those things is disease. So what causes disease? You may say, well, it's obviously germs, viruses, and bacteria. That's what makes us sick. Well, no. In fact, the man that discovered the germ theory was Louis Pasteur. And on his deathbed, he was quoted as saying, "It's not the germs, it's the soil." What did he mean by that? Well, I'm going to give you a very graphic example. Imagine there's a cow walking on a field, and he does what cows do and leaves a big pile of manure on the field. All of a sudden, there's flies all over the pile. Now, my question to you is, did the flies cause the mess? The answer is obviously no. The flies are merely opportunists that are taking opportunity to feed on the mess. It's the same thing with germs. The germs don't cause the illness. You already had a sick body that they're coming in like the flies and taking advantage of you. So the germs are not what causes the illness. The illness is what causes the germs. They got it backwards. And this is what Louis Pasteur realized when he said it's not the germs, it's the soil. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, what about genes? What about genetics? What about DNA? Well, I could do a whole 4-hour talk on this, and I'm not going to do that today. But just to keep the answer short so we can move on, no. Sometimes, but very, very, very rarely. Genes are just a potential. And I'll give you another example. All 4 of my grandparents had diabetes. My parents don't have diabetes. I don't have diabetes. My brother doesn't have diabetes. It's in our genes. We don't have it. So is it genes or environment? Is it genes or habits? Genes are potential. It doesn't mean it has to express itself. Germs, genetics, not the cause of all disease. So let's get into the actual cause of all disease. How and why we get sick, and things we can do to prevent that from happening, and if we do, recover quickly, live that optimal physical, mental, and social well-being. So what I'm going to do now is talk about the stress response, also called defense, also called the fight or flight response. So we go through life and we have different experiences. Some of them are pleasant, and some of them are unpleasant, and some are outright traumatic. We've all experienced all of them. Whenever we experience anything in life, our body has 2 responses. 1, we grow, learn, and evolve because we have that stress. Or we go into defense to protect ourselves from the stress. Whenever we have any experience, our brain is going to ask 2 questions. Can I handle this? And am I in danger? If the brain determines I can handle this, we grow from it. We evolve. We get stronger. We get wiser. We get smarter. Simple example is exercise, especially weightlifting. We stress the muscles and they get stronger. Now, if we use too much weight or we don't use the right technique and our brain determines I can't handle this, we can hurt ourselves. We can't adapt. If I'm walking in the woods and a bear jumps out at me, my brain is going to determine I'm in danger, and it's going to trigger this fight or flight response so I can either fight the bear or run away. Now, if 20 years later, I'm still reacting as if there's a bear in front of me, life is going to be very different. I never fully recovered from the stress 20 years ago, and I might not even remember being attacked by a bear. My body is going to function every day as if I'm being chased by a bear or fighting one. And we've all experienced this. We're driving up the highway, and the guy in front of us stops short. We slam on the brake, and we grab the handlebars. That's the fight or flight response. Now, what if you were stuck like this for 30 years? Think you might have high blood pressure? Think you might have back pain? Think you might feel stressed all the time and feel anxious? Now, this fight or flight response is great for the short term, but it's not a great way to live all day, every day. So this is the cause of all disease, being stuck in that fight or flight response, being stuck in defense, being stuck in the stress response, never fully recovering from the stresses and traumas of all of our life. Now, age doesn't make us sick. It's the accumulation of stresses that we never recovered from throughout those years that makes us sick. Let's look at why. And what I want to share with you now are the components and how the stress response physiologically works in the body. So let's say that bear jumps out at me in the woods and my brain determines I'm in danger. What it's immediately going to do is send a signal through the nervous system to the adrenal glands that's going to release adrenaline into the bloodstream. Now, as this adrenaline reaches the heart, heart rate's going to go up. And we're just going to cause our breath to get faster. And our blood pressure is going to go up. And this is going to cause our blood sugar to go up to give us more energy. And why is the body doing this? So I can have the energy to run away from this bear. I need more oxygen in my muscles so I can fight this thing or run away. The pupils of my eyes are going to dilate so I can see more and less light. All these things to fight or run, to prepare myself. You may hear I have a geese yakking in the back. Hear him? He's in the fight or flight response right now, being chased by an alligator. I'm in Florida. Probably not. Now, there's 3 things that the body doesn't need when it's in danger and actually takes a lot of energy, so it turns them off. And those 3 things are our immune system, our digestive system, and our sexual function. So we've all experienced getting sick when we're stressed, right? Because when we're stressed, our immune system is depressed or even turned off. The digestive system, we've all heard stories, or maybe you experienced it, where you get startled or scared and you poop yourself.
A little something extra came out.
Right? Or you pee yourself because the digestive system just turned off. And lastly, sexual functions turned off. We all know how that goes, right? When we're stressed out, probably not going so well.
Now, what kind of a problem have they got?
Well, it's sexual.
So these are the components of the stress response. The adrenaline is released, our pulse goes up, our blood pressure goes up, our blood sugar goes up, we start breathing faster, our muscles tense up, our pupils dilate, and immunity, digestion, and sexual function are shut off. So I'd like to show you now top 10 most common medical diagnoses. Number 1, high blood pressure, allergies and frequent colds, breathing conditions, diabetes, back pain, neck pain, and headaches, depression and anxiety, digestive disorders, impotency, vision problems, and heart palpitations. Now, do you see any connection between this list and the list of the components of the stress response? Well, if you don't, I'm going to show you right now. So I have this chart of the stress response right next to the list of that top 10 and how those illnesses, those diseases, those conditions are actually the long-term effect of being stuck in the stress response. So I'm just going to read these to you right now. Adrenaline is pumped into the blood. That causes depression and anxiety. Blood pressure increases. High blood pressure. Heart rate increases. Heart palpitations. Shallow rapid breathing. Respiratory or breathing problems. Blood sugar increases. Diabetes. Muscle tension increases. Back, neck pain, and headaches. Pupils of the eyes dilate. Vision problems. Immunity's turned off. Allergies and frequent colds. Digestion is turned off. Digestive disorders. Sexual functions turned off. Impotency. Illness is nothing more than the long-term effect of the stress response across the board. So what is the cause of all disease? The inability to respond appropriately to stress and or the inability to effectively recover from stress. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at 10 strategies for not only increasing your body's ability to adapt to present stresses, but also how you can recover from the stresses that you've had throughout your life that are impacting your health now. So I call these strategies the 10 responsibilities. Why? 1, you got to take action. You got to have the will to do these things. But also, these things increase your body's ability to respond to stress. It increases your response ability. So number 1 is present moment awareness. It can also be called situational awareness. The ability to be fully aware of your environment, sight, sound, touch, all of it. That you're fully aware and that you can respond appropriately and being relaxed at the same time. What I consider the best technique for developing present moment awareness was developed by an organization called the Self-Discovery Group. I'm going to put a link in the description below where you could go to their YouTube page and be guided through a present moment awareness technique. This is a technique you need to practice. It's simple, but it's not always easy. But the more you practice it, the more normal it will become, and you will be able to maintain present moment awareness. And it's a form of active meditation. You can do it when you're driving, when you're having conversations, especially when you're eating, to be fully present in every moment. So number 2 is spinal and nervous system health. Now, as a chiropractor, this is what I do. Okay, I support people to have healthy spines and nervous system. Why is this important? Because the nervous system controls everything, including our ability to respond to stress. And very often when we're experiencing stress, and we've had lots of stress through our life, our spine and nervous system are carrying tension from those events that's holding us in that fight or flight response. So chiropractic is all about is having a healthy spine and nervous system so that your body can be healthy. I practice something called network spinal, which is a gentle form of chiropractic that's sole purpose is to relieve stress out of the body and become more stress adaptable. So number 2 on my list is having a healthy spine and nervous system. So if you're not currently under chiropractic care, I strongly recommend it. So number 3 on my list is healthy food and drink. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to do this. Number 1, take time to eat. Eat with a clear mind. Enjoy what you're eating. Eating in the car, eating on the go, it's so unhealthy. Take time to eat. Have conversations with your friends and family while you're eating. Enjoy the food. Savor the food. It will be more nutritious and more healthy for your body when you're actually experiencing with present moment awareness the food you're eating. Number 2 is trust your body and trust your cravings. You may one day all you want to eat is salad, and the next day you want a big ribeye. Listen to your body. Now, if you're under stress, that's the only caveat. If you're under stress, you might be getting the wrong signals. I'm talking about when you're being present and you're feeling at ease, listen to your body. And it'll tell you exactly what you need to eat. You may be eating a meal, and one thing feels great and one thing doesn't. Don't eat it. Number 3. Read the labels on the stuff you buy. And if the ingredients in those foods doesn't sound like food, don't eat it. It's that simple. So you're reading through the ingredients and you see red number 3 and monosodium glutamate and potassium sorbate. Those don't sound like foods. I'm not going to eat it. But if I look on that list and I see apples and oats, that sounds like food. I'm going to eat it. Very common sense. Read the labels. If it doesn't sound like a food, don't eat it. And lastly, around eating, it's good to have an understanding about alkaline and acid foods. And I'm going to keep it really simple. Alkaline foods are fruits and vegetables. Acid is everything else. Doesn't mean you don't eat acid, but it's a good idea to have a larger proportion of alkaline foods than acid foods. 70% alkaline, 75% alkaline, and 20-25% acid. So if you're going to have steak and potatoes, which are acid, have some veggies with it. Have some salad with it, right? Have more alkaline than acid, and you're eating a healthy diet. So let's talk about drink. You want to be drinking more water, I can tell you right now, and you want to be drinking filtered water. So my 2 tips for drinking water: 1, drink filtered water, whether you buy bottles of it or get yourself a filter. You don't want to be drinking the chlorine and all the crap that's in the water coming out of our faucet. There's a lot of stuff in there you don't want to be drinking, like nanoplastics and estrogen that's floating around in our water. Especially us guys, we don't want to be drinking estrogen every day. So get yourself a filter. Tip number 2, you need to be drinking half your body weight in ounces every day. And everybody I talk to doesn't do this, including myself most of the time. So I'm about 180 right now. So my body requires 90 ounces of water every day. If you weigh 150, you need 75 ounces. Keep that in mind. If you're drinking less than that, you're dehydrated. Strategy number 4 for increasing your adaptability and recovering from past stress is full, deep, complete breathing. Doesn't mean you got to do this all day, but take time each day to the top. And take some deep breaths. Listen to your body. Throughout the day, take some deep breaths, especially if you're exercising and doing things active. And especially if you're in a stressful experience, in an argument, maybe you're giving a talk and you're nervous. Maybe you're making a sales call and you're frightened. Maybe you're sitting in traffic and you're crawling out of your skin. Take full, deep, complete breaths. Number 5, adequate rest. We'll start with number 1 of adequate rest, good sleep. I'm just going to give you a couple of quick tips on how to get good sleep. If you can open the windows and have fresh air, that's number 1. Fresh air will help you sleep. Having that cool air coming in from outside. I live in South Florida and we get that like 3 nights a year. So we get those cool nights, my windows are open. Also, having proper posture while you sleep is also very important. What do I mean by proper posture? Well, number 1, you don't want to be sleeping on your belly, because if you're on your belly, your head's got to be turned. Imagine walking around like this for 8 hours or 6 hours. Your neck's not going to feel good the next day. Okay, so you want to be on your back, or you're going to want to be on your side, and you want your pillow to be the right height that matches the length of your head to the bottom of your shoulder. So you need the right size pillow so your head's not like this and your head's not like this. Your head needs to be like this. So have somebody look when you're laying on that pillow and make sure your pillow's the right height. Secondly, if you get a couple of more pillows that you can wrap your arms around and put between your knees, it'll help relax your shoulders and your hips so that you can have a nice sleep. If you're on your back, it's good to put a pillow underneath your knees. And you don't want your head like this with a too big pillow. You want your head lined up. So those are some very simple tips for getting good sleep. If you want to take it a step further, there's also a great company called Nikken that I'm a big proponent of out of Japan that makes these wonderful sleep systems that have technologies in them, magnetics, far infrared, negative ions that help you sleep, and deep sleep, that deep REM sleep where you're dreaming. That's the best kind of sleep. It's another form of rest that's also very important, and I mentioned it a little bit. Learn some form of meditation. It's a conscious form of rest. You do that 15, 20, 25 minutes once or twice a day, you will feel so much better. And that present moment awareness technique is a great form of active meditation. If you only did that, that would make a huge difference. Next, spend time in nature. Go be with the trees. If you want to hug them, hug the trees, but be out in nature. Get the sun on you. Take deep, fresh breaths of that fresh air. Go to a park. Go to a forest. Be in nature. At least a few times a week. If you could do it every day, do it. This list are the result of a 70-year Harvard study. Harvard decided that they were going to go to every culture around the world where the people typically lived over 100 and see what they all had in common. It took them 70 years to do this study. In fact, on Netflix, National Geographic put out a show about it, so you can look it up. So they went up into North Canada with the people that live up there. They went to Italy, where they went somewhere in South America. They went all over the world, and they found all these cultures where they traditionally lived over 100. And what they found by watching these people was that it wasn't diet, it wasn't exercise, it wasn't whether they smoked or drank alcohol that determined whether they had this longevity. Because the people living up in Canada, they were eating whale blubber, a high fatty diet, and many of them smoked, and they lived over 100. Down in Italy, these people were smoking and drinking all the time, eating Italian food, which you know is fatty and full of all kinds of stuff that they tell you not to eat. But they lived over 100. But they did find 3 things that all these cultures had in common. Now, I will say that these 3 things can be very challenging, especially if your life experience right now is not them. But they are worthy goals that you can set and something that you can set yourself to create. Okay? So number 1 for creating longevity, according to Harvard, and living over 100 is finding work that you enjoy. Having a career that gives you purpose and passion and it feels like you're making a difference and that you feel fulfilled and accomplished. Number 2 is having loving relationships with your friends, with your family, with your partner, with your community. And number 3, they all had in common was all these people contributed back to their community. They were very involved with their community. They would work for their career, but they would also be involved in the community. So those three things are worthy goals you can set for your life to help increase your health, increase your body's ability to adapt to stress. Is find work you enjoy and love and gives you passion and purpose. If your relationships aren't loving, find a way to make them loving. And number 3, contribute back to your community. Give back. Get involved. Now, you may not be able to do all 10 things, but if you watched my last video, you learned about Kaizen. 1% improvement every day. Pick one thing on that list and apply it. And when you get good at that, add the second thing on the list. Or pick one that sounds interesting to you and work them. Add one at a time. If you're ambitious, then go for it. Do all 10 and you will see amazing results. You now know the cause of all disease. The inability to adapt to stress and the challenges of your life, or your inability to recover from the stresses you already have that are holding you locked in that stress response all day, every day. And you have 10 strategies that can increase your adaptability, increase your response ability, and increase your body's ability to take that stress and turn it into fuel for growth, strength, evolution, and all things good. I wish you long health. I wish you have everything that you desire, and I hope this video will set you on your way. Thank you for joining me today. If you got value out of this video, please subscribe. I'm going to be pumping out great videos like this every week. And please comment below if you have any questions. Ask them. I will be sure to respond. And I'll see you next week with our next video.